Each year, OnePlus releases a new mid-range price flagship that has all of the hottest new smartphone features, top-of-the-line specs, and a price tag that is much lower than all of its competitors due to a few cut corners. Let's see if this holds true with the brand new OnePlus 6 and how it has held up after a month of use. Starting with the almost bezel-less display, since it's the most significant change in this phone, it's a beauty. It does have a notch, which is common in a 2018 flagship, but it's not that big. It only takes up a third of the display's width, and since it provides me with a few more pixels, I don't mind it too much. For exact specs, the screen is now 6.3 inches and has a screen to body ratio of 84%. Still, if you can't stand notches, then you can go into the phone settings, display, and under notch display, you can hide the notch area. And even if you hide it, you still have a bit more screen real estate than the OnePlus 5T, since the status bar with all of your notifications stays in the dark area at the very top. The display is still 1080p, which may seem like a downside since the screen is so big, but the 402 ppi makes the screen look amazing. You can barely tell it's 1080p unless you compare it side by side with the Galaxy S9 or any other Quad HD panel. The only time that the display will annoy you is if you're outside on a bright sunny day. Even with the brightness maxed out, the OnePlus 6 still struggles to show you what's on the screen. Other than that, this panel won't disappoint. Now, the OnePlus 6 in my opinion is the best looking phone OnePlus has ever released, especially if you get the mirror black edition. It does have a similar form factor to the OnePlus 5T, but it weighs a bit more, making it feel more premium, and the slightly back curved edges with the aluminum band on the side make it comfortable to hold. Combine that with a glossy glass encasing and a massive display, and most people will believe you bought a $1,000 flagship. The buttons have very tactile and perfect placement, and I appreciate the extra hardware components that most phones nowadays leave out, including the headphone jack, fingerprint sensor, and the alert slider. The only downside with the mirror black model is that it's more vulnerable to damage since it's really slippery, and it's also a fingerprint magnet. So I recommend picking up a skin from dbrand to give the device a bit more grip. The one on my OnePlus 6 is their black Camel edition. Moving it around makes the patterns change, and it looks very professional as well. But of course, they have plenty more selections that you can choose from, and not just for the OnePlus 6, but plenty of other devices as well. I'll drop a link right below that like button if you want to get one for your device. Moving on to the software, Oxygen OS never disappoints. It's running the latest version of Android Oreo, and the interface is still light, efficient, and very similar to stock Android. Like its predecessors, there's no bloatware, very few design tweaks, and some additional features that are appreciated. The software features that I use the most are their gesture controls such as double tap to wake or the 3-finger screenshot, the option to change the overall theme, scrollable screenshots, and their customizable status bar. Some of the newer features that we haven't seen before from the OnePlus 5T's beta releases include the new toast messages that pop up when I change modes using the alert slider, which I love, and the option to hide the notch in the settings. They also include another navbar option called navigation gestures to give you a bit more screen real estate and navigate the OS like the iPhone X. But this isn't a new feature since, once again, we've seen this on the OnePlus 5T beta software. Now, even though I do believe OnePlus nailed the software, there's still a couple of areas they can improve upon. Let's start with the OnePlus launcher. Don't get me wrong, it's a decent stock launcher app, but it does need a few reworks for me to use it full time. I gave my critiques about it in an Android Police video called OnePlus 6 5 Best and 5 Worst Things. So if you want to know why I'm not a huge fan of the OnePlus launcher, then click that video in the right corner. If you're curious, I switched to a launcher called Rootless Pixel 2 Launcher by Paphonb. I'll include that link right below that like button as well if you want to download it. Another feature that could be a problem for some is the face unlock. Even though this method unlocks my phone very quickly and does a great job of recognizing my face and not the face of my friends, it's still not as secure as you may think. One OnePlus owner was able to fool the unlocking method with a printed photo of his face. It even worked with a black and white picture. This is because the OnePlus 6 just uses the regular front-facing camera and it can't differentiate between a flat surface and a real face. That's why OnePlus added a disclaimer when you configure the face unlock, noting that it's less secure than the other options. I tried tricking the camera as well, but I couldn't unlock the phone. You might need a high quality picture to pull it off. Still, I would stick with the fingerprint sensor if you want to be more secure, because you never know who will go the extra mile just to get into your phone. Plus, the fingerprint sensor is just as fast as the face unlock, and it recognizes my registered fingers extremely well. Now for software updates, this phone can already be updated to Android P Beta, which is a great sign for those who don't tend to get a new phone every year. It probably won't get the same update timing as the Pixel, but it'll probably get software updates faster than its other competitors such as Samsung or LG. We all know that OnePlus is known for their insanely fast performance, and yet again the newest flagship is no exception. With the latest Snapdragon 845 chipset and 6 to 8GB of RAM, I didn't experience any sort of lag when using this phone. Apps load up quickly, the OS is snappy and responsive, both face unlock and the fingerprint sensor unlock the phone in under a second, and the animations are buttery smooth. If you're a mobile gamer, then this is also a great option as the Adreno 630 GPU can handle any game you throw at it. Overall, A+ on the performance. The battery was also consistently great, even though it has the same capacity as the OnePlus 5T at 3300 mAh, I somehow received better battery results. Of course, battery results may vary, but that's with heavy usage including Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, cell data, and GPS enabled most of the time, along with the brightness set near to max. This phone easily lasted me the entire day without a single charge, typically well over 5 hours of screen on time. Sometimes I even had a good amount of juice left before I went to sleep, thanks to the great standby time. As for the charging mechanisms, some people were complaining about the OnePlus 6 not getting wireless charging since it now has a glass back, but honestly, I don't miss it too much since Dash Charge is still the dedicated charging mechanism, and it's one of the fastest, if not the fastest charger out there, letting you fully juice up the 6 in around an hour. Moving on to the camera, OnePlus stuck with their dual camera setup, 16 megapixels with an f1.7 aperture for the main sensor, and 20 megapixels with the same aperture size for the secondary sensor. This time around, the primary camera now has OIS. Some of the shots I had gotten with the main camera were actually really good. The phone pulls in a lot of detail with good exposure and accurate colors. There may be a few times the camera over sharpens the edges and when you zoom into a busy photo you have a painted effect, but overall most photos taken on the OnePlus 6 turn out looking solid. It's not going to impress you, and devices such as the Pixel 2 or Galaxy S9 will provide better results in more difficult lighting situations. As for the secondary lens, it now supports the primary sensor in portrait mode by improving the depth of information instead of being a dedicated low light shooter. Now it does produce some great portraits, but I feel like most people don't use portrait mode that often, so a secondary camera just for that feature seems like a waste. Plus, I thought portrait mode was fine on the OnePlus 5T without the secondary sensor, so I feel like OnePlus could have chosen a better purpose for this extra camera, such as a wide lens or telephoto lens like the one found on the OnePlus 5. Still, it's not a huge deal. At this price point, the rear cameras have already outshined any other $500 smartphone. Lastly, there are some extra features that I enjoyed having, such as Bluetooth 5.0, NFC, Gorilla Glass 5, 128GB of internal storage with the availability of getting up to 256GB, the headphone jack, and a very active community for rooting and ROM support. But there are also a couple missing features that I wish I had, such as official IP rating for water resistance, wireless charging, dual stereo speakers like on the Galaxy S9, expandable storage, and support for Sprint and Verizon. That being said, this is no doubt the best phone OnePlus has ever made. Half a year ago, OnePlus nailed the software and battery with the OnePlus 5T, and this time with the OnePlus 6, they have improved the display, overall design, battery, software, and more. There's not a lot of cons within this device, especially considering it has a starting price of $530, which is way cheaper than most of its competitors. So yes, I would definitely recommend this phone if you're in the market for a top tier flagship that has a mid-range price tag. Just keep in mind that it's not the complete package, meaning that more expensive flagships could have a few more features and better specs, but for the most part you'll have a similar experience and you'll be happy that you saved a few $100s. Anyways, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments what you think about the OnePlus 6, if you plan on getting it or waiting to see what else comes out this year. If you enjoyed, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see Android content just like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Kapow!